Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to the Empower LEP podcast. Today, I host Zhanna Shekhtmeyster. Just have to make sure I'm saying that right. Zhanna Shekhtmeyster, who is really unique because she's developed a couple of apps for LEPs, and I think behaviorists could probably use these too. And she also has a small private practice in LA. She's a full-time school psych. She has a small private practice and she is fluent in Russian. So she's been doing a lot of consultation and assessments with Russian-speaking refugees and just children who need that kind of expertise. She's been consulting with different school teams who have had, a recent influx of Russian-speaking kids into their schools. And so that's a pretty cool, unique niche. So enjoy this episode of the Empower LEP podcast with Zhanna Shekhtmeyster. Welcome back to the Empower LEP podcast. I am here with Zhanna Shekhtmeyster. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I am really excited to talk to you today because you are doing something pretty unique with your LEP and just with your business in general. And so I'm excited to hear about how you got to where you are, how you had these amazing ideas, and how things are going for you in your practice. So yeah, thanks for being here and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, Zhanna, tell me, where do you live? Where is your practice? Like give me a little bit about your history and then kind of go into, your business ventures.
Yeah, so I live in Southern California. I'm in Santa Monica, and I am a practicing full-time school psychologist, and I do my LEP work part-time on the side.
Awesome. Keep going.
So I've been following your podcast since it started and listening to it regularly. And I thought that, I would reach out because I'm doing something a little bit different with my LEP. And some of the things I'm doing are creating apps and tools for other LEPs and school psychologists to use. And I thought I would share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would love to know. And okay, so you're in Santa Monica. Are you in Santa Monica schools?
Yeah, Santa Monica, Malibu Unified.
Okay. And then do you have just your private practice is just you?
Yes, my private practice is me 100% of the time. I own my apps 100%.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I would love to hear how you got into app making and yeah, tell us about what those are.
Yeah. Well, I'll back up to I got my LEP license in 2014, the regular 3 years after becoming a school psychologist. And I had my license and I did an assessment here and there, but nothing too much. But the way I got into app development was kind of interesting. When I went to graduate school, and that was a while ago now, we were taught about data collection using paper and pencil methods. I see you nodding. So
yes.
Yeah. And even back in grad school, I was got my little notepad, got a piece of paper, I'm writing down, I'm tallying, I'm doing the basic stats. And I was always man, why is there no tool for this? Why is there no app? And that was obviously in the early days of apps too. But so for years, and then I went into the schools and I was practicing, and still the same thing, my caseload got busier, and I'm still got my clipboard, got my pencil, I'm tallying, I'm doing my thing. And the whole time I'm thinking man, there really needs to be an app for this. And at that time, there really wasn't anything available that was good, because there was some stuff here and there, but nothing that actually made it easier for me to do my job. Mm-hmm. So I kept thinking about creating this app. I had this idea in my head and I kept talking to people, and I have no tech experience at that point. And I just kept bringing it up to different friends in different fields. And until someone helped make a connection to somebody who was building apps. And I was yeah, I'm going to talk to him. Let's see what this person has to say and let's see how much it's going to cost. And after talking to that person, I was able to it seemed feasible. It wasn't it cost a decent amount of money to make it, but it wasn't cost prohibitive. So I was okay, I think I want to do it. And this person who I had connected with was able to understand why, like, I needed the specific tool. Like, because I had talked to other people in tech before and they were like, huh, like, why would somebody want this?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this one person kind of understood. And because he understood my vision, I was like, okay, this is the right person for me to work with to bring this to life.
Yeah.
And so that's how it got started. And it went from idea to storyboard to draft to development to beta testing and testing and testing. And my first app was launched in 2017.
Wow. That's so cool. And so you really had no idea about any of this world, but you met somebody, you made this connection, and they, I'm assuming, kind of took you through the process of how you go about developing an app.
Yeah, they gave me kind of the basic outline and I was like, okay, I can do it. And I think school psychologists and LEPs, we can do a lot. We wear many hats.
Yeah.
And one of the things about building an app is you have to be a really good project manager, from conception to launch to, marketing, whatever. And I think we do really a good job project managing the tasks we do. And those skills allowed me to create the apps.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you're not really dealing with people in that, right? Like, I think we're very structured in that way. So
And I think it was actually interesting because when I started working with developers and like people who code and software, they think a little bit differently. And as a psychologist, I had to use my empathy skills and place myself in that person's shoes and help them understand like what it is I'm trying to get out.
right.
And I think my counseling and empathy skills allowed me to do that.
Wow. Yeah. So true. So you learned a completely new skill. And so how many apps have you developed and what are they called?
Yeah. So the first app I developed was Behavior Observation Made Easy. And it is a tool we use to help us with behavior observations. I use this app in every assessment I do. It helps with, you could do a frequency count, you could do duration, you could do momentary time sample, you could do intervals. And at the conclusion of your observation, you get a nice little chart, you get some basic data analytics, and you can pretty much post that into your report.
Wow.
What I noticed is that my writing time from when I was doing a paper and pencil to doing it digitally and writing it up went to like under 5 minutes to write up an observation, which is huge because it's pretty time consuming in general.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to envision. So do you also, because when you're doing an observation, you're like talking about what's going on in the context and, kind of noting the different things that you're seeing. Are you doing a narrative? Are you like typing out a narrative and it's like AI counting how many times you say, wasn't making
No,
sense?
it doesn't have the AI stuff in there, but I can show you. So this might be a basic like task attention observation that I do.
Okay.
And you can also record the narrative in the notes.
Oh, so you can like say it or type it in or both?
You can dictate if you want, but in a classroom, you might not want to dictate.
Right.
You might be typing it up.
Okay.
So you're doing the stats along with the narrative.
Got it. Okay.
And then at the end, like you get a nice little chart. And this is my dog, Zoe. So don't worry. It's not. But this little chart goes into my report and it's all nice and neat. And this app launched in 2017. And it's actually interesting because I launched it and I left to go on a trip where I didn't have my phone for a week. And I came back and I was like, oh my God, there was like 200 people who bought the app. So that was very exciting for me.
How cool. And did you market it anywhere when you launched it?
When I launched it, no, I didn't market it. It was word of mouth, I guess. I've done marketing since, but at that time it was just like, I'm going to put it out there and kind of tell a few friends and colleagues and see what happens.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Is there also like a comparison to what other peers are doing?
Yes. You could do a random peer comparison in the app.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice. And the templates are really customizable. You can create whatever template you want. That's the theme in all of my apps. And then you save your observation template and you could use it over and over again. And you can also export the templates to other devices.
Awesome. And so like if does the app exist like on a computer? Could you have that app open?
This app is Apple and Android devices.
Okay.
And actually some Apple computers, now they allow apps to be run. So there's a way to do it too, but not every single Mac.
Okay. So it could be like an iPad or.
Oh yeah, definitely iPad.
Okay. Wow.
And the reason is people don't always want to bring their computers into the classroom anyways.
Yeah.
They just want a little simple.
Yeah.
Something small.
Yeah, I do a lot on my phone for sure.
Yeah. And
then the kids think you're on your phone.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay, so that one is behavior observation made easy.
Yeah.
And then you have more?
Yeah, I have a second app and it's actually called ABC Observation Made Easy. And that one was launched in 2022. So August 2022 is when it came out. And the reason that this app came to fruition was people kept reaching out to me and asking me for like, can we do something with ABC data? Can we do something to help with ABC observations? And I was like, yeah, why not? So that app took a while to make. There was a pandemic in between. My father was really sick, so it definitely took me some time. But that one, I was able to use what I learned from the development of my first app to fully develop this one independently with hiring developers and all of that fun stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay. So tell me, how is that one? I mean, obviously it's like ABC, but show me a little bit and talk about how it's maybe a little bit different.
So I'm going to show you an observation screen. This app basically allows you to do data collection for ABC observations, frequency and duration. And 1 second.
As you're looking, tell me a little bit about how, like the whole thing has just been you, but you've hired people to kind of help you do these different pieces of it.
Yes.
And then does it just run? Like, what happens after it's up? Does it need upkeep and monitoring and?
Yeah. So the process for it is, yes. So I have my idea. I put my idea down on paper through it's called a wireframe or a storyboard. I give that information to my developers who I hire. I'm not a coder myself. They make a rough draft of the app and I approve it. Then we work on the design elements. We make it pretty. After that, we go to the beta testing phase. And the beta testing phase for me is one of the most time consuming. It takes a while, but we go through all the ins and outs of the app, making sure everything works. We go back and forth fixing it. And after that, I launched the apps on the App Store. So the Apple App Store or Google Play. And the apps do require regular updates. As you know, we constantly have tons of updates in our app stores. So there's definitely a cost associated with that. And my developers, I once again hire my developers to help with that.
How do you know, how do you know it's time to update, or how do you know it needs to be fixed?
Yeah, that's a good question. The thing is, I personally use my apps so I can see when things start happening. And then users will also notify me that oh, it's crashing or something's happening. And then it just kind of tells me that it's okay. It's time to update. Okay. Typically, it's about once a year that it needs an update to the code.
Yeah. So what kind of, I don't know, what kind of ROI are you getting on these apps, because I imagine if, even if an app is 99 cents, but if you get a lot of people buying it, it could be, what kind of
Yeah.
Getting.
So my first app, the Behavior Observation Made Easy app, costs $13.99. It's just a one-time fee in the App Store. And the App Store does take a percentage there of your revenue. They take 15%. They used to take 30, but now it's 15. So that one, I make some bucks here and there. One of the things that is interesting, people will sometimes be like, oh, it's so expensive. And what other people in our field don't necessarily think about is actually how much it costs to develop and build the apps, and also the upkeep on the apps. And I'm like, it's less than a drink in California.
Right.
So that's that app. My second app, the ABC Observation Made Easy app, is a subscription model. And I had to make it that way because of all the costs associated with the upkeep. I know a lot of us in our field, we don't actually love subscriptions. I personally don't love to sign up for stuff, but being on the other end of it as a tech person, I really recognize the importance of that because of how much it costs to upkeep.
Yeah. It's interesting. Just kind of being on the other side. I find it very interesting being on the other side of business and all of the things that you start to think about and have to deal with, and the risks you take and all the things that, when you're being an entrepreneur rather than working for, just being an employee, right?
Exactly. And that's something we as LEPs don't really learn in grad school, how to be entrepreneurial, how to run a business, how to set up a business structure. I know you've had some great people on your podcast talking about it, and it's really helpful. But all those things, it's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that you have your program set up for people to really develop their business skills.
Yeah. We're about to start that. By the time this airs, we'll probably be like most of the way through it. But yeah, I'm excited. That's about to start. And there's such a need for our field. I mean, I remember being in college and then in grad school and never even thinking that there was an inkling of a chance that I would be needing to know about business. I didn't even think I would need to know about it. Why would I have needed to know,
No one brings it up.
Yeah. And I was just going to go work at a school. To me, business and like school psychologists were just so different.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely been learning a lot just as I go, right? What are some of the things that have been challenges for you as like kind of in business as you've been developing these apps? And then also you could shift a little and also talk a little bit about your private practice as well.
Yeah, in the apps, I think the challenges I've encountered is one, the length of time it takes to develop an app. You think it's going to take like 12 weeks and then it ends up being a year. Or you think it's 12 weeks and there's a global pandemic and it's, it's 2 years. So that's definitely a challenge. Another challenge I think I've encountered and is because I'm by myself, I'm 100% independent. I don't have anyone to be accountable for. So I'm like, okay, well, today I want a beta test, or tomorrow I don't. And that's okay. And it's great to have that, but it also slows the process down.
Yeah.
My other challenge, definitely the learning curve of developing an app was a fun challenge. And I felt like wonderful being able to produce this awesome idea and put it into action. That felt great. One of the other things I had to learn and has been a challenge for me is marketing and advertising. Once again, as LEPs, we are not taught this in grad school. So it has definitely been a learning curve to learn about social media advertising. How do you get the word out there? Do you use this? Do you use this? Google Analytics, all those things. That has definitely been a challenge.
Yeah. And so, what avenues have you taken for marketing and what have you found to be successful for you?
I have found I like social media marketing because it's the biggest bang for your buck and the least time consuming for me. I have found that quite helpful with Facebook. Advertising has been really great. LinkedIn, I've done LinkedIn advertising, I've done Instagram advertising, but I think Facebook has been the best for my clientele, which is other people in my field.
Right, right.
And that's kind of been it. And word of mouth has really been kind of pivotal to my app as well. I supervise interns, they pass it on to their fellow classmates, and it's kind of taken off from there.
Does it feel weird for you, like kind of posting and on social media? Like, do you have any of that feeling like, oh, I'm like selling, that's a big thing with us, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
selling this. And like, if your peers, you're like selling to your peers too,
Yeah.
right? So it's not even to families, but like, how do you feel about that?
When I first started, I did have some kind of angst about it, and it did feel a little weird. But as time went on, I just developed some comfort with it.
Mhm.
And it's, I developed this tool because I use the tool. I do what the app users do. I'm not some like random advertiser. So, and it's really, both of my tools are really efficiency, time saving tools. And so they're not super pricey, they're affordable. Given that I own 100% of it, I take privacy super seriously. I make sure confidentiality is built into every aspect of it. And because I stand behind my tool 100%, it feels less weird to do
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. That's another thing, like, just that's so interesting. You just brought that up, just like privacy, confidentiality, like you must have had to really go through some deep dives with attorneys and things to just kind of figure that stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had to, at the conception, that had to be taken really seriously. And I think I was able to do it in a way that data is as safe as it could be on a cell phone.
Yeah. 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 Hmm. You were going to show me something. I don't know if you
Yeah.
found it, but
Yeah, I was going to, you wanted to see my other app,
yeah, I do want to see your other app.
it's the ABC Observation Made Easy app, and I have it pulled up, but basically you could set whatever behaviors you want to set, and you click this is a template, you click the behavior and you input the ABC data, you click through it.
Oh,
There's
wow.
the antecedents, the consequences, and the functions are all preset. But if you
Wow.
want to add something different, you can.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and then at the end, you get not only, actually in all of my apps, you don't only get a nice little chart. With this one, you get a full complete ABC chart, but you also get the data in a CSV file, which means you can open it in Excel and you could mess with the data and do more sophisticated statistical analysis and any things like that. All the data is timestamped, so it shows you exactly when the data was taken.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
And
like you thought of everything.
yeah, and one of the reasons that I really wanted to go on your podcast to share about my app development as an LEP is to show other LEPs who have really amazing ideas that they can also do it.
Right.
I've consulted and kind of helped a few people with their own ideas and putting them into fruition. And I really want to encourage other LEPs and school psychologists that if you have an idea, it's really possible to get it from up here, to launch it, to put it to fruition, and really help others in your field have some amazing tools to use. It's really not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're definitely like, you've done it. So yeah. Yeah. That's great. It's really good guidance. And it's part of, my mission with Empower LEP is to bring, who is doing what and like, how did they do it? And, because there is more. And I think the older I get and the longer into this field I get, the more I realize, just like how much more there is. And I think I started, I've been doing this a long time, and we didn't know anything. Like we didn't even have social media when I started, and things have just blown up. But I think it really opens doors and opens people's minds to thinking about, what else, what if, what can I do,
Exactly. And nothing's impossible. In our line of work, we wear so many hats and we do so many different things like all day, every day. So I think I really encourage like my peers and colleagues, like if you want to do it, you can definitely do it.
Yeah. 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 And that's like, if there, one of the questions that I always ask people is if there was advice or encouragement you could give, do you think it would be that?
Yeah, definitely. Don't underestimate yourself. We're very intelligent, open-minded, creative, great problem solvers. We do it all day in our work. And so if you want to do something, you just kind of do it. You just have to make sure, you put in what you're willing to potentially lose. So you don't want to spend all your money on whatever venture you have, but definitely take some risks. And sometimes those risks really pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important also, like you still work full time in a school district. And, that's another thing is like, this isn't the kind of thing like what you're doing, what I'm doing, it's not something that you have to like leave your job and do. Yeah. You can build slowly. You can do it in your free time.
Yeah.
You can put in some extra work on the side and see how that goes, see how it goes for you.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody is really interested in building something like that, I'm available for like a quick consult, or I can help you more along the way.
Yeah.
I'm working with another LEP to launch something else, and I've helped this person. It was more than just a consult. They really wanted me to hold their hand a little bit more, and that's what we're doing. And she's going to launch something really fun that she never thought she'd be able to do, but now it's coming to life.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I'm bringing a couple different people on doing some other cool things that I'm excited to share with the community. So, yeah, that's exciting. I want to hear a little bit before we end here. I want to hear a little bit about just like your practice, because I think you also have some unique features of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do have a small private practice on the side along of all my app stuff. And, here and there, I'll take a few assessment cases, a few counseling cases. But most recently, I feel like I've found my niche, and given my name, I am from Eastern Europe. I'm actually from Latvia, but I'm fluent in Russian. And given everything that has been happening between Russia and Ukraine, we've really had an influx of both Ukrainian and Russian refugees in our country. And a lot of those kids, as we would expect, are really struggling. So I feel like in the last, I would say, year and a half, I've been conducting Russian speaking assessments for school districts. And then also there are times when my caseload is quite full and I'm just like, I can't take on more cases, but I am able to provide consultation to people about how to adequately assess an English language learner who's not a Spanish speaker. Mm-hmm. Because it's very different. For Spanish speakers, we have standardized tools we can use. We can debate the merits of how good or not good they are. But for kids who are Russian speaking, Ukrainian speaking, and other languages, those tools just don't exist. So you really need to use your clinical judgment, your knowledge and cultural competence to be able to adequately assess these kids. And so I've been consulting on a good number of cases with different school psychologists and special education teachers about how to approach these cases.
Wow, that's really powerful. And so you're doing a lot of work with school psychologists and actual like in school districts and for different school districts?
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they reach out to me. I think a lot of it came from the CAS website.
Yeah.
I'm listed as a bilingual Russian speaking school psychologist, but yeah, I'm completely on their team. It's not an IEE. I am really either a consultant on their team or I'm fully part of the team doing the assessment.
Yeah. And you're doing it like contracting through your private company and doing that for these districts. Yeah,
exactly.
So cool.
Yeah, my contract. Yeah.
Are you doing any counseling with any of the kids who,
the Russian speaking kiddos? Yeah. So actually, because of my busy schedule, I'm not, but I have, as we would expect, these kids have trauma and they need counseling.
Right.
So I have a network of a few Russian speaking therapists that I refer the school districts to, and then they just contract with them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're such a great resource because especially now, like in California and with telehealth and things, like you could be really accessible to teams all over California.
Right.
And kids all over California, really.
Right. Yeah. And all over the country too, because as LEPs, I feel like for our assessments, I definitely stick to just California, but that the consultation piece isn't necessarily limited to just California.
Right. Right. Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. If you were just consulting with other people in the profession. Yeah.
And it's their credential, their license, but I just give some advice about how to handle this complicated situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, that's really, really niche for sure. And so needed.
Yeah. Especially right now.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm glad I had you on the show because you'll probably get some people like, oh my God, I need you right now. Yeah. Because we're always looking. We're like, oh, who is like a Mandarin speaking school psychologist? I just had someone yesterday be like, do you know what the education system is like in India? And I'm like, no, I don't. Let me find somebody who does. Right. If anybody does, let me know. Yeah. Well, gosh. Okay. So how do people find you and how do people find your apps?
So my website is EdPsychLA.org. They can find me that way, or they can shoot me an email at edpsychla.org@gmail.com. My apps, I think you're going to link them to the show notes, but they're available on Apple and Android platforms. So people can look them up that way, or they can search the apps by name, and each of my apps has its own website.
That's so cool. And so then you had to have somebody did the same people who help you do, well, no, probably not, because they're not in marketing. Like, how did you develop your websites and stuff?
So I did my own websites.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I would do it again. I think as I'm getting busier, and I'm sure other people feel this way, it's like time versus money.
Right.
So sometimes it's just easier to hire out. For my first app, I designed the video all by myself, and I could do it. I can design a video. You could design a video. For my second app, I was like, no, I'm just going to hire out someone. It's going to take them less time and they're going to do a better job.
Yeah. So
really relying on the expertise of others at times it's something I'm learning.
Yep. It's like, when are you just going to farm it out? And it's difficult to let go of the control, but then it's also, you have to think like, what is more worth my time and how much time is this going to take me versus somebody who knows how to do this stuff.
Exactly. And I think as we start to get busier, that just becomes even more important.
Yeah. Well, this was an incredible conversation. Do you feel like you have left our group with everything that you wanted to lay on the table for us empowered LEPs?
Yeah, absolutely. I love being a part of this and just sharing my story, and hopefully it will guide somebody else.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to checking out these apps and seeing if they can help save me some time.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks
for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the Empower LEP podcast. Episodes can be found at empowerlep.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to connect. I would love to learn more. I can be found at Jana@empowerlep.com.